Hello, welcome to another episode of TwinCat Structured Text. In this tutorial, we shall discuss about variable and pointer. Especially, we shall discuss what happens behind the scene and how ordinary variables and pointers are related, how we can change a variable or a content of that variable via pointer, and some other tips related to pointer. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing it, and the demo code can be found at this site. The address is here: https mlx.com plc structured text memory management, and there are many other programming sample related to TwinCat. Take a look in this site. We have a Visual Studio and empty project is created. So let's declare a variable. We are declaring a variable in int var1 and its type is int. And what happens in this case, so compiler or that operating system will put that variable in somewhere in that memory. So let's say it will store that variable at address 004, but we have not initialized it yet, so that content will be empty. But in Visual Studio actually it is initialized with 0. So basically that means n int var1 will be 0, though we have not initialized explicitly. And now if we initialize that one, we are now initializing this variable to 15. And most important thing is that this n int var1 is a variable. It holds a value, not address. In computer actually these memories are like in sequence, those addresses are located. So we are assuming that this system has put that value at 004, though we are telling it's like 004, but in real program or real computer system it will be different. It depends on that CPU architecture and so on. So normally for 64-bit those are 8-byte, but we are just taking it as an example. And when this statement will be executed, then at this location we shall have a value 15. So this is value, and that value will be located at 004. So now let's declare a pointer variable. So now we are declaring a pointer pint, and that is pointing to integer type. And again this pint is a variable, and the content of that pint is not known yet. So how it will be in memory? So here is basically that same example, but let's say we are declaring, or we have declared that pint, and that pint variable is located at 006. This is just an example, but this content is not initialized yet because we have not set this content. And now let's set this content. Here we are using ADR, address operator, and ADR, and then some variable will extract that address of this variable, and we are assigning or setting it to pint, and so that's very important. So we are taking the address, and that is 004, and address of n int is 004, and we are setting that address to p-int variable. So when we are executing this line, then it means like we are setting at this location 004, not that value. So it is value is 15, but address is 004. So value of n in var1 is 15 and its address is 004. So we are actually we are not setting, but that system is setting 004 at address 006. That's the difference. So pointer variable holds the address, but ordinary variable holds the value. That is most important difference. And when we have set like this way, then we say p-int is pointing to variable n-int var1, because this variable p-int is holding the address of a variable. Actually, that means by this we are telling that, okay, at 004, put that address 004 to this variable. To this variable means like p-int, and p-int actually located at 006. So put the address of n-int var to here. So and this address is this one, so we are setting it here. So exactly like this. And now basically, if we change that content, if we change this n-int var1, then that means where this variable is point, that will be changed. So let's do some more exercise. So we have declared another variable, pointer variable, that is p-int2, and then value by a pointer, and its type is integer. And now we can set that value by a pointer. Now value by a pointer is similar variable like n var1, and now we are setting value to that this variable, and what will be that content. And here we have content operator, and this content operator is used with pointer. So by this we are telling the content of p-int, extract the content of p-int and set it to value by a pointer. So that's a very important concept. So we are not really setting that pointer here, but content of that pointer, and that content will come by this content operator. So let's test this sample at this moment. Now we have n-int var115 and value via pointer, that is also 15, because p-int is pointing to that n-int var1. And now if I change that value of this guy 2 3 4 5 and write it, and now this value via pointer is also changed. And if we expand this one, then it's 2 3 4 5. So this content is changing. And if I change this value, for example, now it is not changing, but it was changed for one cycle and then it was overwritten in next cycle immediately. So that is like how we can change content of a variable via pointer. And let's continue this sample. So we have p-int2, and now we can assign that p-int2 equal to p-int, and so that means both are same pointer. So once this n-int will be changed, then this content of these two pointer both will be changed. So let's see that example. And this is 15 also, so let's change it again. 1 2 3 4 and right, and this is changed also, both value has been changed. And now another interesting thing that we can test. And now by this statement we are telling that change the content of that variable where p in points. So change the content of variable where p in change. So now we can change it. It will not be changed because we are reassigning this to another variable. Let's modify this one a little bit. So alright, now we have introduced a temp variable, and now if I set this temp variable to something else like 2 3 4 5 6, and now let's write it, and now we are changing this temp variable, and now this n int var1 is being changed. So that's the magic of pointer variable. And so how it is related, this value temp and this n int var1. So let's do it again. I set it to 1, and now that will be 1 also. So what is that use of this pointer? So by this pointer we can pass to some function block, some other function or action, and then that can be modified there, and then the content will be changed in that color. So we shall use these in subsequent tutorial. So we are thinking to make a bigger tutorial like pointer array and base fault, but then later we decided that we can make it shorter video because that was becoming too big. But you keep in touch, and we shall discuss, or we shall continue this similar discussion in next video. Here is that sample that you can download, and here is that code that you can try to test if you like. And of course there is lots of description here, and that you can take a look, that is useful. We have covered this variable and pointer, and so here we have more information, and please take a look and consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you very much for watching this.